The big bad boogeyman has finally arrived in Master Duel. The decklist my comment section has been terrified of for months now and been constantly warning me about coming is finally in the game. Sort of. Okay, so Kashtira right now, it's not exactly the most scary decklist. If it was still the boogeyman, it'd be the boogeyman, but he's had his arms and legs chopped off. Yeah. But in saying all that, this decklist I was still very pleasantly surprised by just how well it was performing, even without all the cool new support stuff that we haven't gotten yet. It was still a very decent decklist, and even if it was just a complete pile of poop, it doesn't really matter, because it's not exactly going to be a bad investment when we know in the not so distant future, when the boogeyman does get his arms and legs, it's going to be really, really insane. So hey, while this decklist is only at a fraction of its power, let's test it out and get a taste of what our painful future is most definitely going to be. So here's today's decklist. Now just a reminder before getting to the decklist, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see more videos just like this one in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of you watching this or even subscribed to the channel, means 65% of you haven't even clicked that subscribe button yet. So if you guys are enjoying this kind of content, want to see more videos of more deck ideas or more deck lists from me in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this decklist. So how exactly does this decklist function before we get the brand new support that makes it absolutely broken? Well, until we get that new support, this decklist has one pretty major downside, and that is, you can't really get out that many Xyz monsters, because there just isn't that many ways to search for cards or special summon cards. It just ends up being that you end on like one rank 7 pass most games, if you're not running a shit ton of extenders, which we are of course doing, because we're obviously running cards like your Psi-Beast, which is a card that can banish a card from your deck list, change its level to level 7. We've got your Ascended Thunder, which can just special summon itself, it's a level 7. We've got your Segmental Dragon, again, can normal summon without tributing, it's level 7. We've got your Astral Kuriboh, can special summon itself, it's a level 7, or change itself to level 7. Keep in mind though, this card can only be used on number monsters specifically, so you're going to use this most of the time for either your Diablosis or to go into your Big Eye. We're also of course playing the Instant Contact to summon out copies of these elemental hero monsters. You can play whichever one you like, just one that's level 7, and again, level 7 on the field, easy way to go into your rank 7s. And as long as you can go into your 2 big rank 7s, you're going to have a pretty decent time with this deck list. So the first of your 2 monsters is your Kashtira Shangri-Ira, or Shangri-Ira, or I don't know how to pronounce this card. During each of your standby phases, you can special summon one Kashtira monster from your deck. You can only use the previous effect once per turn. Each time a card your opponent owns and possessed is banished face down during the damage step, you can choose one unused main monster zone or spawn trap card zone. It cannot be used while this card is face up on the field. If this card on the field be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach one material from this card instead. So the whole goal of this deck list is to get this thing on the field, then just banish things from your opponent's deck or banish them from wherever, and make sure they're going face down, and in doing so, you're going to start locking a whole heap of zones. Now to help with this, we have your very disgusting Diablosis the Mind Hacker. Once per turn, you can attach one material from this card, look at your opponent's deck, and banish, or extra deck, and banish one monster from it. Keep in mind, very, very strong against Telement, because you can take their Kitgalos, and they're going to struggle a lot more to play the game. At the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle, you can target one card in your opponent's graveyard, banish it face down. If a card your opponent owns and possessed is banished face down while you control this card, you can banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck face down equal to the number of face down banished cards. You can only use the effect once per turn. So this card, it's going to be banishing a shit ton. It banishes one time, it banishes then again if it gets to destroy something by battle, and this card, it's not once per turn, this thing's just going to keep triggering repeatedly until your opponent just has no zones left to be able to play the game, which can be incredibly annoying and make it really goddamn hard for your opponent to actually win anything. Then we have the Kashtira main deck monsters, which are just as strong as the extra deck. The first one's going to be your Fenrir, which is a card you're going to be seeing all over the place, because this card isn't just good in this deck list, it's good in any deck list. It's an insane card. If you control no monsters, you can just special summon out from your hand. You can use each of the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can add one Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. When this card declares an attack, or if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, banish it face down. So essentially, this thing is just going to grab you free resources on summon, just grabs you anything you like. It doesn't have any cost to summon it, you can just summon it whenever you like. And yeah, it has a nice little banish effect, where if your opponent activates a monster effect, once that thing has used its effect, you can then just banish a card on the field. So, incredibly nasty. To go along with that, we have Kashtira Unicorn, another incredibly disgusting card. Again, if your opponent controls no monsters, you can just summon it from your hand. You can only use the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can add one Kashtira spell card from your deck to your hand. When this card declares an attack, or your opponent activates a monster effect, you can look at your opponent's extra deck, and if you do, banish one monster from it face down. Again, really annoying against a bunch of deck lists, things like Kashtira, things like Telements, or just anything that relies on specific extra deck cards. This thing can just pop them out of your deck list, and of course, it's going to be triggering off your dude's effect as well to lock more zones, so really goddamn annoying. Then we have your Ogre. Again, same effect, it can just summon itself from your hand. If your opponent activates a monster effect, it will trigger. You can add one Kashtira trap from your deck to your hand. When this card declares an attack, blah 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 blah, you can look at the activate the top 5 cards of the top of your opponent's deck, banish one activated card face down, and place the rest of the top of the deck in the same order. So this helps you basically decide what your opponent's next draw is going to be a lot of the time. If you notice your opponent has a really annoying card in the top 5 cards you want to get rid of, something that they actually need to be able to combo off, or some garnet they need, or their next draw is going to be absolutely disgusting, this Ogre can just make sure to get rid of it, and again, it's going to trigger the effects of your Shangri-Ira to then lock more zones. Then we have your Kashtira Birth. This is the card you're going to be searching for off of your Unicorn. Right, you can normal summon level 7 monsters without tributing. Obviously very important. During your main phase, you can special summon one of your non-Xyz Kashtira monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Also very important, because there's a lot of ways you're going to banish in this deck list. You've got things like your Riseheart, which will banish a card. We've got things like your Psi-Beast, which can also banish cards. And a lot of time you can have Xyz monsters attaching stuff and putting things in the graveyard anyway. So this card's going to be able to bring back a lot of annoying things. Alright, if your opponent activates a spell card or effect and you control a Kashtira monster, you can target 3 cards in your opponent's graveyard and banish them face down. Again, triggering your dude, you get it by now. Then we have your trap card, searchable off of your Ogre. Okay, if you control no monsters, you spell summon this card from your hand. You can use it, blah blah blah, same kind of stuff. Actually, while I'm reading the Ogre, oops, sorry. Kashtira Preparations. During either player's turn, you can spell summon one of your Kashtira monsters that is banished or in your hand. If your opponent activates a trap card or effect, you control a Kashtira monster, and this card is already face up in your spell trap card zone. You can look at your opponent's hand, and if you do, banish one card from it face down. I actually have not used this effect yet, because no one's activated a trap card versus me, but I'm sure will come up at some point. You only use this effect once per turn. The main use of this card is basically just to be bringing back these dudes during your opponent's turn, then have more disruption, whether that be bouncing stuff out of your opponent's extra deck, or just be, banishing cards on the field. And the final main deck Kashtira monster is your Riseheart. If you control a Kashtira monster, you can spell summon this card from your hand. Also, you cannot spell summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except Xyz monsters. Keep that in mind, it stops you going into link summons. During your main phase, if this card was normal spell summon this turn, you can banish one Kashtira card from your deck, except Kashtira Riseheart, banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down, and if you banish any, this card becomes level 7. So very good card at making sure you have a target for your Birth to be able to bring stuff back. Very good card at making sure to trigger your Shangri-Ira to then lock more zones, and of course it makes itself level 7, making it really easy to go into these cards as well. And this card's the main search off your Fenrir, because this card can just search this card and it can special summon itself straight away. As for the rest of the deck list, it's all just cards you probably recognise by now. I've already sort of gone through, and you'll see them during the gameplay anyway, so nothing too fancy here, just a lot of typical hand traps. Got things like your Dimension Shifter, because we don't care about the graveyard at all. Things like your Maxx, because obviously it's Maxx, Ash Blossom, blah 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 blah. We've also got your Plot of Desires, because this deck list, outside of maybe this card, doesn't have any sort of thing you would necessarily need to win the game. It'll be very annoying if you actually manage to banish both copies of your Fenrir, but as long as you got one in the deck list, you're probably going to be fine, doesn't really feel too bad. So yeah, that's not really too much in here that's super spicy. It's a pretty typical deck list for Kashtira at the moment. The only card that you could particularly swap out, in my opinion at the moment, would be your Segmental Dragon. This card, you don't need to run. If you want to play some Call by the Graves or something, feel free to do so. I just feel this deck list at the moment, if you don't have just a buttload of extenders, it just feels like absolute poop to play. So I was like, I'm going to cut the Call buys, I'm just going to play an extra level 7 monster. So you don't have to run this card if you don't want to. It does have some pretty cool synergy with this card in that it can normal summon itself without tributing, making itself have the 2000 2600 attack for its effect, which is essentially just quick effect, nuke the entire field of your opponent's stuff, as long as they're lower than 2600 attack, so pretty cool effect, can ban out some negates and stuff, so yeah, other than that, rest of the deck list pretty stock standard typical stuff, so without further ado, let's jump into some gameplay. Alright, so today I've got 3 replays to share with you guys, all of which were taken in Diamond, and I did get a rank up with this deck list, so people were wondering about win rates and stuff. I did end up going, I think of the 7 games I played with it, I won 5 of them, so it's definitely a playable deck list. There's no way it's going to be top tier though, I'd be very surprised. In the future it will be, obviously with all the new support, but it's in its current state, as you'll see from some of these replays, you can't really set up the optimal board every single game. It's just really goddamn hard to, especially if your opponent has any sort of disruption. And I also kind of find it kind of hard to fit in some extra tech cards, which you can do with the other list once you've got all the new cards. So yeah, I don't have any hopes of this being an actual top tier deck list yet, but as you can see from these replays, as you'll see, it does actually set up some decent stuff a lot of the time, especially if you get a lot of extenders in hand, which is basically what this deck list is at the moment. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is obviously use our Pot of Desires, draw a couple of cards. Pot of Desires is really good in this particular list because there isn't any actual garnet. There's no like garnets or anything you need in the deck list to just search for anything like that. There is one trap card which is kind of annoying if you banish it, but not the end of the world. It's not like it's an end-all card if you don't grab it, so that's probably the only card you care about getting banished. Or if you get really unlucky and just banish both Fenrir or something. Alright, nothing on field, so I can special summon out the Fenrir. Fenrir is searching for our special summonable Kashtira. Activating our Rebirth. Oh, sorry, not Rebirth, our Birth, sorry. Gonna be using our fusion card to summon out my dude from the extra deck, so we get 2 level 7s. Bringing out our Kashtira blah blah blah. Shangri-Ira? Shangri-Ira? I don't know, this card reminds me of that Black Ops zombie map, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, activating this card, which banishes a card from my extra deck, or from my main deck, sorry, banishing a level 7, which is very important because I can bring it back in a second with my Birth, so choosing the one that can search the trap card. I think in this case, though, I actually messed up because I think I banished the trap card. I didn't check beforehand, but that's alright. And because I banished something from my opponent's main deck to the face down, this card will trigger, locking a zone. Alright, Birth can now revive. Summoning out the Mind Hacker. Detaching, having a look. And now we find out our opponent is playing Pendulum, and you're about to learn one of the most gross interactions with this deck list and Pendulum. So, activating the effect, locking one zone, activating the second effect, and then realizing as soon as I did this, what if I just lock the Pendulum zone? So, we locked this zone because I wasn't thinking straight, and then I was like, what if I just lock a Pendulum zone? And they can't play the game now. They cannot Pendulum summon. Of course, during the standby phase, get to summon out a Fenrir from the deck list. So if my opponent activates any sort of monster effect, I can banish a card on the field. Yeah, this is disgusting, by the way. He can't activate his second Pendulum card. He just somehow get this thing off the field. Ash Blossoming so he doesn't get the search. He's gonna Call by the Grave. This is all completely fine, don't care. He's still really gonna struggle. I definitely should have locked this zone as well instead of locking one of these two. Would be way more impactful, but yeah. Had a last minute decision to lock this one. Alright, signing a monster, sending a card from extra deck to graveyard, triggering its effect to draw a card. But this in turn actually activates 2 effects. First of all, it's going to trigger this card to then banish 3 cards from my opponent's graveyard, and also use the monster effect, so I'm going to trigger my Fenrir's effect. Alright, banishing a whole bunch. He draws a card. I'm going to lock one more zone. I'm going to banish a card on the field, getting rid of this card. Re-triggering this card's effect, and yeah, I think my opponent concedes on this card's, like, resolution. I think he's like, yeah, nah. Look at that banish, by the way. 22 cards banished by my boy here. Holy, this card banishes a shit ton. This deck list might actually be really good in combination with, like, some runic thing. I think it actually does become a really good runic combination when played with the newer support. For the moment, it probably won't work too well because you really do need level 7s, so... Locking his other pen zone, he's just like, no, thank you, I am done. Alright, on to the next one. So keep in mind, that replay was sort of a special case where I got the 2 Xyz monsters out. That's the ideal goal for the deck list, but doing that every duel It's not going to happen. With this particular list, if anyone has any sort of disruption or anything like that, you're going to struggle a lot more. A lot of the time, this deck list might even only end up with just one rank 7 on the field, just your one banish on the field, and then you have to rely on hand traps to survive. That's sort of the state this deck's in at the moment. So, I don't want to hype people up too much by seeing that replay and going, oh my god, it's still zone locking, it's insane. It can happen, obviously, if your opponent just doesn't open the actual, like, disruption or anything like that, but a lot of the time, it won't. Alright. Let's get into it. I'm just going to use my Ogre to search for my trap card. I think I get Maxx Seed at some point. Yeah, use Riseheart, he Maxx Sees me. We're going to Ash Blossom that, because I don't want him to draw another 2 cards. Could have saved the Ash Blossom, but yeah, drawing 2 cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! It'd be very rough, so late now, we're just going to not deal with that. Alright. Opponent used the monster effect, so I can look at the top of his deck, and then banish a card from there. Thankfully, this card actually allows me to basically decide my opponent's next draw, if I want him to be able to draw the next card or not. So this card actually has a bit of a use here, because I'm like, oh, Maxi on the top, you can have that, I don't care, I'm already doing all my summons, so... It doesn't really matter because we banished them anyway, so what am I even saying? I'm ignoring that. Just ignore me. Alright. Gonna trigger these both in the standby phase. Alright, summoning my dude, summoning my other dude. So now we have one zone lock potentially, and we have, oh actually multiple zone locks potentially, and we have one remove from the extra deck and one banish. So, not the most insane infield. It would be really nice if we could do something with this Kuriboh on the previous turn, but Kuriboh, keep in mind, can only be used for number monsters specifically, so it was really hard to try to get this card out, and then try to get out the other dude as well. It just wasn't doable. Gets evenly matched, so we're just left with our one banish. Not the worst, thankfully reversed Exo Sister, who didn't really draw optimally, or at least he's trying to rely on trap cards. Alright, searching for my Riseheart. Riseheart on summon, using my Astral Kuriboh. Alright, banishing my dude, banishing some more cards from top of his deck. He's down to 27. Summoning out the Mind Hacker. Mind Hacker gonna be banishing another card from his extra deck. He's still not using either of his trap cards. He's really hoping to keep a hold of them. He's now got 16 cards banished from this thing. Swinging in, he's gonna swap it over. You'll notice in both this replay and spoiler alert the next one, a lot of this deck's win condition becomes Zeus. Because going second, or whenever you just have a sort of a rough time, you have to end on an Xyz monster, just making Zeus to clear the field becomes most of this deck's win condition going second, or just, yeah, in general. He's going to banish this card before I can banish his monster. I guess he really wanted to keep this thing on the field, but instead he's just like giving me a Zeus. I think he thought I was going to use this thing's effect, because this thing has an effect where it can banish something from my opponent's graveyard. In doing so, if he had like some way to get exorcists on the field, if he has that trap card, chains in response, summons some dudes to the field or something, then he'll just, yeah, trigger all the exorcist stuff, because something gets moved out of the graveyard. So I just didn't trigger this card's effect, and he just, yeah, just made a Zeus. I don't know what his plan really was with that one. Maybe he was hoping I didn't have Zeus, so that was the only sort of disruption left on the field. Alright, Zeus, of course, removing the 2 cards. He has 1 summon and didn't have anything else in hand, so conceding. Alright, final replay. In this replay, you guys will like this one, although, to be fair, it was carried by Maxx. This was one of those Maxx special kind of games, but my opponent was playing Telement, so... yeah. Do we really show sympathy to the Telement player? I don't know about that one. Skyrim, activating our Maxx, which is in 91.1% of deck lists. And my opponent decides, fuck it, I'm just going to play through it. Drawing into my Psi-Beast. This is the funniest card this deck list is running. A level 2 monster that's changed its level by banishing something out of your deck list. It has such good synergy with the continuous spell. Alright, Ash Blossom, stopping this card. He's going to negate this, of course. But I'm pretty fine with this. Seeing if it did give him one extra fusion summon, it's not like that would change a whole lot with what he's doing anyway. And at worst, it's another draw for my Maxi anyway, so whatever. Alright, so he's got a pretty formidable board here, but we've also got a pretty formidable hand. He's of course got the trap card, he's got a fusion summon from Time Thief, he's got the negate from this dude, and obviously this card sending this card will do a whole lot of nasty things as well. And he yoinks a copy of my Unicorn. Bit rude. So starting with Fenrir, because he's got nothing on field, he's going to negate the Fenrir. So I don't get my search, now I can't banish anything using its effect. But I still actually have the dude on field, so now I can summon out either of this card, or I can use my Rebirth, summon out my Unicorn. I can summon my Psi-Beast, which is actually what I think I ended up doing. Opponent's going to do a whole lot of blah 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 tier stuff, of course, going for the Rukalos. Summoning out a copy of the Kaleido as well. Very early Kaleido summon, honestly. Alright, Psi-Beast banishing a card ready for my birth. I'll have to use it. Going for the big eye to yoink a card. Is to force out this card's negate. And force out if he has a fusion summon in hand, he'll just use it. Get rid of a Nibiru. Alright, I think this is a misplay here. I don't think I should have done Burst first. There was a few other options. I could have used the Contact first, or I could have, yeah, I could just summon this thing, not use its effect, and use its extra normal summon. Summon out one of these, and then special summon. I don't know. This was a bit weird, this Burst. I don't know. Actually, I couldn't use the extra normal summon. I already used it. But I think there was definitely some way I could have played this turn from this point that was a little bit better. Or even the previous, before signing Big Eye, making sure this card was being summoned or activated or something. I don't know, this felt a bit weird using this. Because he just negates this thing, and then if he was anywhere near intelligent and didn't destroy this card, I would have been in a very big spot of bother. Because I need an empty field at that point. Because these cards can only special summon themselves on empty fields, so if he didn't remove this card, which thankfully he did, I'd be in a spot of bother. I think he was probably concerned this thing was going to be able to go into Zeus or something, but I couldn't even attack with it. It's already used its effect, so I don't know. But he let me summon my Unicorn because he's a nice guy. Then reduces this card's level to 1, which is a bit annoying, can't exceed summon with it. But because we just have one on field now, we can summon out the Riseheart. I keep calling this thing Reinhardt. I'm sorry, Riseheart. Alright, banishing, making it 7. These two cards making the Diablosis. Making sure to banish. Now this is a very nasty interaction that gives this deck list an actual chance versus tier. This thing could just straight up take their opponent's Kit Close and banish it face down. For anyone that's played tier, you know that is a huge deal, because it makes it really difficult for your opponent to be able to fusion summon all of their monsters, so getting that shit out of here, it's fantastic. Diablosis banishing some more cards. Popping into his monster. For some reason he decides not to banish this card. I don't know why he didn't banish this thing, he just let me hit it. I guess he wanted to keep like one of these cards on the field specifically or something, so he just let me hit that so I couldn't redirect the attack. I don't know about that one. Zeus, everything's gone because he's already used this card's effect. He does get a search off this though, so bit sketch. Alright. But thankfully this card's going to have a real hard time fusion summoning, especially if he doesn't have another copy of the Kaleido, which most people don't have 2 copies, I don't think, so it should have a real hard time fusion summoning. Gonna mill a couple of cards. Did actually mill some fusions, but he actually couldn't do anything with them because yeah, the dude was banished, so he had like no fusion target to go into. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. I do want to again mention this deck list. Don't go into it thinking it's some top tier meta contender or anything like that. It's probably not going to be anywhere near until the new support actually comes out for it. It's just sort of be a fun way to play the deck list, and it's not a bad investment because obviously going into this stuff, new support will come eventually anyway, so if you want to just play this deck list for fun now, knowing that in the future the new support's going to make it broken as all hell, go ahead. It's actually a really fun deck list anyway, at the moment anyway, before it becomes absurdly broken and probably very, very unhealthy. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'll probably do another Kashtira video tomorrow, which will be on Punk. I'm thinking I'll do a Punk Kashtira combo or something like that, because level 7s are really goddamn good for Punk. So I have to wait and see for that one. So thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.